In this video, I want to talk about a way to think about the things that are going on in life that really try our patience. And this came about because I had recently experienced something where I thought I was doing pretty well with growing in my patience and not getting mad at a person for certain things. And basically what happened was, on this day, over a period of maybe an hour or so, there were a few different things that happened that were really getting on my nerves. And I was trying really hard to be patient. And I thought I was doing a great job because I wasn't blowing up. But I could really feel the burn of, trying to be patient. And eventually that wore off. And I was no longer patient. And things came out of my mouth that I would prefer didn't come out of my mouth. Then another thing that happened recently was that I was with some people who were talking about a scripture, and we were talking about the graces that we needed in our lives. And somebody said something about just not judging people. At that moment, I realized that I can pray for patience and I can pray for charity all I want. But if I'm judging people, that's the root that's really irritating to me, is that part of me that is totally judging the other person's behavior. And that's where my brain hears the judgment and says, something's got to be done about this. So the question that I have been asking myself is, how am I judging? So in any kind of situation, when I start to get annoyed, I'm saying, how am I judging? In 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 7, it says, "Not as man sees does God see, because man sees the appearance, but the Lord looks into the heart." And the reality is, we cannot see into another person's heart. We are not getting all of the information. And so it's just something to keep in mind, that when somebody's doing something, there's something going on there. We don't really understand it. And really keeping that in mind and really remembering not to judge based on the appearance, not to judge at all. We don't have the ability to judge what's in a person's heart. So obviously this does not apply to certain situations in which there is actual abuse happening, okay? But in these situations where we honestly just prefer that we would not be bothered, and it can actually help in all kinds of situations where you feel just some kind of a funny feeling towards someone. Stop and check, how am I judging that person? Am I judging that person? What am I judging? And it might not be really clear how we're judging that person, but we can detect, yeah, I think I might be judging that person a little bit. And that's just good to know, because then we know the problem is us and not them. And they're probably really nice. In Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 and 2, "Stop judging that you may not be judged, for as you judge, so will you be judged, and the measure with which you measure will be measured out to you." The other experience that I want to give was more from when I was raising kids. And one time my son, he must have been like 3 or 4 years old, I handed him a little plate full of little cut up peaches, and he dumped them on what was a plywood floor at the time, because we were having our house renovated, and he stomped on them on our plywood floor. So I don't know if you've ever tried to clean a plywood floor, but it's not that easy. So when I saw him do this, I got really mad. I think I probably yelled. What I thought about afterwards was, how have I done this exact same thing to God? So the idea being that here I am getting really mad at this beautiful little child that God has given me, because he's stomping on the peaches that I gave him. And it just made me realize in that moment that when God allows people to do stuff that really bothers us, that it might be a message where we can just stop and think, how am I actually doing this same thing to God? And so basically, if you think about, like, how am I stomping on the peaches? I'm getting mad and yelling at my cute little kid because he felt like stomping on some peaches, you know? So anyway, so the idea here for both of these is just the whole judgment factor that really is what really drives us nuts. And it's something that we have to really think about and turn it around and look at ourselves and our relationship with God. And what is it that God is showing us? Just something to keep in mind for all kinds of situations, anytime you feel some kind of a way towards somebody. All right, so anyway, I hope you find that helpful. Just keep it in mind as you go throughout your day. How am I judging this person? And how am I doing the same thing to God? Okay, so those might not be needed both at the same time, but they might be helpful. All right, so I hope you have a great day.